Okay, so you know those people who like, who just like book a one-way ticket
Yeah.
and just figure it out as they go, always chasing the next adventure.
Right.
Yeah, that's our Sagittarius friends. And if you've ever wondered what makes them tick,
Right?
well, today we are diving deep into the Sagittarius personality.
Yeah.
We've got some really interesting insights from Zodiac Fusion to help us along the way.
Yeah, I love Sagittarius energy because they're all about this like incredible zest for life.
Hmm.
They really remind us that there's always something new to discover, a new perspective to consider. It's like they have this internal compass that's always pointing them toward the exciting and the unknown.
It's giving wanderlust, but make it a lifestyle.
Right.
So for those of us who might need a little refresher, on Sagittarius basics, what are we talking about here? What are the core traits that define this sign?
Yeah. So at their core, Sagittarius is a fire sign, which, tracks. Known for their adventurous spirit, infectious optimism, and, surprisingly, a very deep-seated philosophical nature.
Okay, philosophical isn't exactly the first word that comes to mind. When I think of a Sagittarius, with all the, like, ooh, chips, spontaneous trips and boundless energy.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it might seem a little counterintuitive, but behind that very free-spirited exterior lies a mind that's constantly seeking truth and meaning.
Okay.
They love to explore different cultures, beliefs, and ideas, always kind of searching for a deeper understanding of the world. They're not just wanderers, but they're knowledge seekers. On a quest for enlightenment, one adventure at a time.
So it's less about collecting the passport stamps.
Yeah.
And more about, like, expanding their worldview.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about collecting experiences that challenge their perspective.
Yeah.
Fuel their own personal growth.
Okay.
They're coming back from adventures, not just with souvenirs, but like a treasure trove of stories and a renewed sense of wonder.
And probably a million hilarious anecdotes.
Uh-huh.
But like misbusses and mistranslated phrases.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the beauty of the adventure spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
They just embrace the unexpected, the detours, the occasional mishap. That's just part of the journey.
It's all part of it. Okay, so we've established that Sagittarius loves a good adventure. They've got this philosophical side. What else makes them tick? Let's get into like the nitty-gritty. The strengths and weaknesses, the things that make them lovable, but also maybe a tad infuriating sometimes.
Right.
The good, the challenging, and the downright hilarious.
Well, as with any sign, their greatest strengths can sometimes be their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Just, amplified or dialed down, depending on the day, you could say.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Their adventurous spirit.
Okay.
Incredibly inspiring, contagious, but it can also lead to impulsivity.
Okay, so we're talking like booking a flight on a whim.
Yeah.
Because a friend tagged them in a photo of a beach in Bali.
Precisely.
Okay.
And while their optimism is undeniably infectious, their tendency to avoid emotionally heavy situations can sometimes be a point of contention, particularly in relationships.
So that whole like avoiding deep emotional waters thing, how does that actually work when Sagittarius is trying to navigate, say, a romantic relationship? Because like even the most adventurous Sagittarius needs someone to like share their travel stories with, right?
Right, yeah, that's an excellent point. When it comes to love and relationships, Sagittarius really thrives in partnerships, where their independence is respected and adventure is a shared passion.
Okay.
They need someone who's not afraid to, like, embrace spontaneity, explore uncharted territory, both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, trying to get a Sagittarius to settle down is like trying to like bottle lightning.
Exactly.
Right. They need that freedom to explore.
They need their freedom.
Okay, so the article dives into some interesting stuff here.
Yeah.
About like astrological compatibility, right?
Yeah.
Especially with other signs.
Right.
It highlights Aries and Leo as particularly strong matches for Sagittarius.
Yes.
Okay, so fire signs unite. Makes sense to me. A whirlwind romance full of grand gestures and spontaneous adventures. Sign me up.
Right.
But what about those pairings? That might require a bit more, shall we say, compromise.
Right.
The article mentioned some of those too, right?
It did, yeah. It pointed to Cancer as a potential challenge for Sagittarius.
Okay.
And, going back to what we were talking about earlier, with their tendency to kind of shy away from emotional intensity.
Right, like they'd rather go bungee jumping
Yeah.
than like unpack their feelings after a tough day.
Exactly. Cancers, on the other hand, crave that emotional depth and security in relationships.
Yeah.
They communicate through feelings, They prioritize creating a very safe, nurturing space.
Right.
And so that fundamental difference in how they approach emotional connection can create some friction if both partners aren't, mindful and willing to adapt.
Right. It's like they're speaking different love languages.
Exactly.
Like you said, different dialects of the heart.
Yeah.
So not necessarily doomed from the start, but definitely requires like a high level of self-awareness and understanding.
Yeah.
From both sides.
Precisely.
Right.
And a willingness to step outside those comfort zones, to meet each other's needs.
Right.
So, moving from matters of the heart to navigating kind of like the world of a Sagittarius, the article had some really insightful advice on how to best interact with this dynamic sign.
Yeah.
Did any of those resonate with you at all?
Oh, absolutely. Two in particular stood out to me.
Okay.
First, embrace their adventurous side.
Yes.
Like this could be as simple as, trying a new restaurant, taking an impromptu road trip, or even just like being open to hearing their crazy travel tales, with genuine enthusiasm.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then second, and this is like probably the golden rule with Sagittarius, give them space.
Yes.
Like don't try to clip their wings.
Yeah.
Or stifle their free spirit.
Right.
It's not about being like distant or aloof.
Right.
It's about respecting their need.
Yeah.
For like independence and autonomy. And I imagine that applies to like friendships as well, not just romantic relationships.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit, the article touched upon something I found really fascinating, which is combining Western and Eastern zodiacs for a more comprehensive understanding of personality.
Okay.
Have you ever kind of like delved into that concept at all?
I have definitely dabbled.
Yeah.
It's always blown my mind how someone could be like a Sagittarius, right? Representing a certain set of traits, but also say like a tiger in the Chinese zodiac.
Right.
It's like adding a whole other layer of complexity to their personality. It's like how do those two energies like intertwine and actually like manifest in a person?
It's really fascinating. And the article has this really intriguing table that links to a deeper analysis of Sagittarius combined with each animal of the Chinese zodiac.
Oh, wow.
So, for example, you could have a Sagittarius born in the year of the dragon, and they might be even more ambitious and driven than a typical Sagittarian.
Oh, wow.
Whereas a Sagittarius born in the year of the rabbit might be more inclined towards like creative pursuits and have a gentler approach to their adventurous spirit.
That's so interesting. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here from like the core traits of a Sagittarius to their compatibility with other signs, and even like this whole concept of blending Western and Eastern zodiacs.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Before we wrap up, though, I have to bring up the celebrity Sagittarius mentioned in the article.
Yes.
There were some pretty big names on that list.
There were, weren't there?
Who piqued your interest?
Oh, there were a few surprises on there for me, for sure. Who stood out to you?
Honestly, seeing Walt Disney listed as a Sagittarius, it just like clicked for me. The man who built an empire on like imagination and storytelling and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah.
That screams Sagittarius to me.
You're so right.
Right.
That boundless optimism, that ability to kind of like dream big and then chase those dreams with unwavering enthusiasm, pure Sagittarius energy.
Totally. For me, it was actually learning that. Winston Churchill was a Sagittarius.
Really?
That was a real eye-opener.
Interesting. I would not have pictured that.
Yeah.
What sparked that aha moment for you?
Well, I mean, he's often remembered for his like wartime leadership, right? Like the stern demeanor, the strategic mind.
Right.
But like Churchill was also known for his like sharp wit, his adventurous spirit, especially like in his earlier years. Like he even escaped from a POW camp during the Boer War.
Wow.
Which I did not know until reading this article.
So I didn't know that either.
But I feel like that blend of like seriousness and daring, I feel like that speaks to like the complex and often contradictory nature of a Sagittarius.
I think you're right.
Like you see one side of them and there's all this other stuff going on underneath.
Absolutely. And it's funny how astrology, when you approach it with an open mind, can give you these like insightful glimpses into how multifaceted people really are. It's not about like putting people in boxes or anything. It's more about appreciating like the diverse energies and motivations that actually shape who they are.
Yeah, it's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like the Sagittarius folks in my own life. I think maybe I'll approach those. Let's plan a trip 6 months in advance conversations a little differently now.
Right. And maybe even consider throwing in their Chinese zodiac sign, too, just for like an added layer of understanding. Might be surprised by what you find.
Oh, absolutely. Makes you wonder, what other, like, hidden depths are we overlooking in ourselves and others, right?
Right.
Well, I think on that note, I think we've scaled the summit of our Sagittarius deep dive.
I think we did it.
A huge thank you, as always, for guiding us through these fascinating insights.
Always a pleasure. It's always a journey of discovery.
And for you listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do any of these Sagittarius traits, resonate with your experiences? Or maybe you have, a completely different take. On this adventurous sign, share your insights, your stories, your aha moments. That's what these deep dives are all about, sparking curiosity and getting us talking about this endlessly fascinating world of human nature. Until next time, keep exploring.